Hi, this is Brenda Green and welcome back to Living in the Go. So I'm talking to you today about bankruptcy. Now I have done tons of videos on bankruptcies, but I thought about it, it's been a minute. So I wanted to talk about it again. So if you aren't very familiar with it, or if you're going through some things and you're thinking about bankruptcy, here's a little bit of information for you that will hopefully help you. So bankruptcy is just a legal process for relieving your debt. You go through the courts to do that, but it's for the borrower because you can't repay. Sometimes we're overwhelmed, we have so much debt, and maybe we lost a job or because of medical things that happen and we don't have the money to repay. So you can file a bankruptcy. It is the last resort. Hopefully you can try to pay your bills, make arrangements with the creditors, but if you can't, it's the last resort, but that is available to you to file bankruptcy. Now, you liquidate your assets usually, or you enter a repayment plan, and that's how bankruptcy works. You file a petition through the courts. I will say that you could do your own paperwork, but you don't really want to do that. You want to hire a good bankruptcy attorney. Reason being, there's so many different laws and stuff in bankruptcies, and you want to make sure you're doing it the right way, or you might get screwed over. So just food for thought on that. So, but once you do file, then the creditors have to stop. They cease and desist. They stop pursuing you because you're going through the bankruptcy. Now, there are some things that you can't put into bankruptcy. If you have student loans, if you have child support payments and all of that, that can't go into bankruptcy. You still got to pay those things. So just something to remember. So the first type of bankruptcy is a Chapter 7. You might have heard of that one. So that's the discharge of unsecured loans. So if you have credit card debts, medical bills, you can charge those or discharge those in a Chapter 7. And you have to liquidate any assets that you have. So if you have stocks and bonds, you need to cash that in first before you can file a Chapter 7. So keep that in mind. The next one is the Chapter 11, and that's typically for businesses. So you have to develop a plan of how you're going to repay and reorganize and restructure your organization, but you can use a Chapter 11 to do that. If your business during that time, you can't expand it, you can't get any new debt, you can't grow the business while you're going through a Chapter 11. So those are the restrictions. Then there's the Chapter 13. Chapter 13 is similar to a Chapter 7, but in this one you pay the money back and you restructure the debt and repay it back over 3 to 5 years. The courts work with you to set up a payment plan, and that's what you do. And in the Chapter 13, you don't have to liquidate your assets. So a lot of people prefer to do that, and if you really are sincere about paying the debt back, then you want to do a Chapter 13. Now, Chapter 9, it applies to municipalities, counties, even some cities, school districts who have gone bankrupt. And then you again get to restructure and repay it over time. So that's a Chapter 9. The next one is a Chapter 12, and you might be hearing a lot about that in the news because that's for farmers and fisheries. So if you have a farm and you want to file a bankruptcy, that's a Chapter 12. You've been hearing in the news a lot of farmers are feeling like they're going to go broke and they have to file bankruptcy because they don't have workers to work their farms and that kind of thing. So they have run out of money and they are filing bankruptcy, and that would be under Chapter 12. So they reorganize. They get to keep the business, the farm, but they reorganize and they devise a payment plan which will again keep their ownership, but they have to pay it back. If they're so destitute that they can't pay it back, however, they have to sell the farms or whatever, that's a whole different situation. But if they are trying to pay it back, they would use a Chapter 12. And then the last one is a Chapter 15, and I don't know if you've heard of that one. That was added to the Bankruptcy Code in 2005, so it's 20 years old this year. And this is for cross-border debtors. So if you have assets or debt in another country or multiple countries, then you would use a Chapter 15. And that was strictly designed for multiple disputes. So if you have a company here in Mexico, if you have a company in the US, if you have a company in Honduras, all of those can get combined into Chapter 15 because that's a special code that was set up just for that. So that's a little bit of information about bankruptcies, maybe more than you wanted to know, but hope that helps. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day.